In 2014, we're actually expecting that we're going to see a slight dip in the county's revenue. And there's a number of items that are going into that as to why we think that may happen. A few things that we know that are for sure that are going to impact us. Recently, we were informed of a sales tax refund from a number of years back that was filed with the Ohio Tax Commission, and there's a $484,000 credit, so $500,000 that was pulled out of our February sales tax revenue. So that's a $500,000 that we know off the top, less this year, different from last year. Due to a change in the Ohio Revised Code, and with the approval of the Recorder's Equipment/Technology Fund, the apportionment of recorder's fees, a higher percentage go to the Recorder's Equipment Fund than what used to go to the general fund. So that is going to be about an impact of $175,000 on the general fund. That's for the next 5 years. So that is an impact where the sales tax refund is one time. That 175 is something into the future that's going to stick. Also, there's a change in the conveyance fees that we can assess that Alan got through the auditor's office and subject to some court findings. We're no longer able to assess conveyance fees on any property that involves Fannie or Freddie on either side of the sales equation. In this budget, we're looking at that affecting us by $250,000 to $300,000 a year, but we're really not sure where that's going to finally end up dollar-wise. A lot of it just depends on the proportion of those properties in the sales and the conveyances. Just as a footnote on that, 250 and 300, we looked at Alan's report that he provides to the commissioners and the treasurer on a monthly basis. Already, and we know there's some different things at play here, but just through January and February of this year compared to last year, the conveyance fees are down just under $300,000 already just in those first 2 months. So there's a number of revenue lines the county has that just fluctuate on a monthly basis, which is why when you do some budgeting, you have to have some conservative assumptions in there, so as the ebbs and flows of those come through. Some other unknowns that we just don't know that are out there, other revenue lines we have, various department fees, conveyance fees, these things. If you look back in the history, they jockey $200,000 to $300,000 every year. And in 2013, these various department fees and conveyance fees, in many cases, were the highest they've been since '07, or the highest they've been since 2010. We just don't know, is that a spike? Is that a trend? And where is that going to be? So there's just different things at line that in conjunction with these things we know for sure, that we think it's very likely our revenues this year are going to be less than last year. The last thing on there, just real quickly, is working its way through the legislature right now. The Senate approved it. Senate Bill 243 is looking to give a 3-day sales tax holiday in August. That won't impact all sales. It's up to so much for clothing. It's really for kids going back to school and equipment. It's not everything. It doesn't affect cars. But it is something that will impact us. And real quick, the question that come up with different people I talk to is, how does the state sales tax impact ours? The way it works out, our tax is considered a piggyback tax, so it sits on the base state sales tax. And if the state base sales tax goes away, then everything that sits on top of it for those 3 days goes away as well. So that's why if they did that sales tax holiday, that will impact us as well as SARTA. So the revenue forecast that we put together, it's kind of my little project, but I've tried to work with Alan, I've tried to work with Alex, and get their guidance on where they think all these different revenue streams are going. And by far, it's hard enough to guess 1 year, let alone trying to forecast 5 years. But the goal of the model was to just try and put something together that's a reasonable representation of where we think revenues are going with the best information we have today. And that's the revenue line that, looking forward, that this budget was built around. And each year, that's going to be updated halfway through the year when we get halfway through to see how we're trending with where we expect revenue to be. And at the end of each year, it will obviously be updated as we move into the next budget model. Just for your information, in our revenue lines that Alan tracks and reports on, there's 27 different revenue lines. And some of those lines obviously have different components even within them. But 72% of our revenues are made up of the justice system sales tax, about 43%, property taxes, local government, and casino revenue. The forecasted growth rate that we used for each of those is just based on a combination of the best information that we have currently available and where we think things are going into the future. And the real key to this looking forward is, folks, the revenues we have today are all we've got. And you sat through the Budget Commission hearings. I know one of the things Commissioner Creighton beat on is we've got a sales tax that's up for renewal in 2019. And we made the commitments, and we need to make sure that the revenues that we have available today get us to that point, because if we can't even get to that renewal, it's going to be good luck trying to get any additional monies. And the monies that we have coming in, property taxes are pretty stable for the most part. We have the triennial review coming up in 15, that'll be 16. Local government funds, that piece is a crapshoot every 2 years, depending on where the state budget's going. Casino revenue, at some point, you would hope would be somewhat of a flat thing. And the sales tax is completely dependent on the economy. It can go up, can go down, depending on what the hiccups are. Because of those flux points, again, is why you have some conservative assumptions built in those revenue forecasts. A lot of these numbers are small, and I want to let you know, everybody that got the meeting notice for this, I will email out a copy of this report, because I know it's tough to see on the screen some of the small numbers, and it's tough to see even in the printouts that you have. So I'll get you an electronic copy after today's meeting. This is a report that Alan completes on a monthly basis, and it just shows you those 27 line items, just to give you a little bit more information of where things are at. And that was the year-end 2013.